Alabama's WVUA News at 10.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We begin with developing news we first reported to you last night at this time. A wildfire near Brookwood has grown since it was initially contained yesterday. The fire is off Camp Cherry, Alston Road, and Highway 216 just south of Brookwood. And that is also where we find WVUA's Daniel Sparkman tonight. He joins us now live with more. Daniel?
John, we were first on the scene last night, and we brought you live images of the fire, which you could see burning behind me. Last night, however, it was contained and under control at 35 acres, but that all changed today. Now the fire has more than doubled and is about 75 to 100 acres in size. Fire officials with the Alabama Forestry Commission say that the fire has jumped several fire breaks and flames are still roaring at this hour. Spokeswoman Colleen Van Zant says they have brought in additional fire crews from Brookwood, Lakeview, Vance, and Coling to help contain the fire. And she also says that as of right now, their conditions are very favorable for the fire to continue to burn.
The weather factors and the fuel.
Van Zandt also says that if there are no evacuation orders right now, but if those become necessary, she says that the sheriff's office and fire departments will go door to door to let each family know. Reporting live in Tuscaloosa County, Daniel Sparkman, WVUA News.
All right, Daniel, thank you. And there have been no reports of any injuries. WVUA, of course, has crews on the scene, and we will continue to bring you the latest information as it becomes available to us. And as you heard Daniel say, several weather factors are contributing to the blaze intensity. So will we see any kind of relief in the near future? WVUA's Chief Meteorologist, Richard Scott, joins us with that answer. Richard.
Yeah, John, we're going to have to wait a couple of days before that does actually happen. Winds are pretty gusty tonight out of the south, sustained at 9 miles per hour, and have been more gusty back towards the west. In fact, winds sustained 16 to 20 miles per hour across portions of Mississippi. Now, that's going to move in here tonight, that strong southeast fetch, and that will bring at least some moisture into the state, so that should help things out by the time we do reach tomorrow and the day on Thursday. 75 in Tuscaloosa now, but the dew point much lower this evening, so the air mass a little more dry and conducive for the fire hazard out there. 52, the dew point temperature in Tuscaloosa. But the good news is, here comes the rain back off towards the west now. It's going to take some time before that does approach us. In fact, we're talking the Thursday evening into Friday morning time frame when heavy rain does set in, but still going to be a dry day through tomorrow, so those fire hazards will continue. 80 by lunch, 84 at 4 o'clock. An isolated thunderstorm is possible. But what about the rest of the forecast? And we'll look ahead towards the weekend. Weather is coming up.
All right, Richard, thank you. If you drive down 15th Street near the Forest Lake neighborhood, you may notice a lot less water in the lake. Now, the city is starting their Forest Lake debris removal project, and WVUA's Travis Leader takes a closer look at how engineers are taking on the task.
The City Council several weeks ago approved the project for the debris removal from Forest Lake, and we began immediately proceeding to engage an engineer to design the cleanup recovery efforts in that lake.
Now here's how the engineers are draining the lake. It's called siphoning. They're going to take water from the lake and move it into a culvert, and here's how they're going to do it. First, they release this plug and enter water into both sides of the siphon. They will then close this plug and then release this plug that's going into the culvert. Therefore, by force of gravity, water will go from the lake all the way up to the top and then down into the culvert.
The city staff is periodically checking to make certain that the siphoning is continuing and not being clogged by the debris that's there. So that is moving forward, and you'll begin to see that lake as it goes down in the draining.
Some Forest Lake residents, though, are getting tired of the lake not being what it once was before April 27th.
It's going to take a long time, and I think that's what frustrates everybody, is to get up every morning and have to look at this. It's just really sad.
But the city says they are working tirelessly to make sure the debris will be removed before summer's end.
They will be flying over the lake tomorrow to do an assessment from an aerial view to try to determine the amount of debris that's in the lake, and then begin to finalize the bid package and get that project ready to move forward. We should be advertising for the bid at the end of this month, and we expect work to begin probably mid-April.
Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Travis Leader,
WVUA News.
The city had once hoped to have the debris removed by April 27th, but they saw delays in receiving federal grants. City leaders are still optimistic to have the project completed by the end of July. Well, from Forest Lake to Alberta City now, where demolition crews have started the process of tearing down the walls of the sanctuary building of Alberta Baptist Church. The church was heavily damaged during the April 27th tornado. Pastor Larry Corder says the demolition process should take about 6 weeks. Since last April, the congregation has been meeting at another church. Corder says the church is planning to rebuild on their original site, and they hope to be in the new building by August of 2013. Well, a group of spring break students from Tennessee are spending their vacation doing volunteer work right here in Tuscaloosa. They're lending a helping hand to storm survivors. Around a dozen students from Maryville College are working with Habitat for Humanity and Presbyterian Relief Assistance in Tuscaloosa. This crew was at the home in Alberta City where they were helping to rebuild a safe room. Students told us the experience is very rewarding.
It really is that satisfaction from helping other people out. It's amazing, especially getting to meet the families and see people's reactions from us coming down to help. It's great.
Maryville College has always been very community oriented, and they don't limit it just to East Tennessee. They go all over the place. So it's excellent because I like knowing that I'm helping people.
Maryville College students have also helped with a relief project along the Gulf area following Hurricane Katrina. Well, in other news, the Tuscaloosa City Council approves Mayor Walt Maddox's $5 million plan for construction projects around the city. Now, everything from better parking downtown to improvements along Loop Road are on the docket. There are also plans to convert a former bank building into a West Precinct for the Tuscaloosa Police Department. The mayor hopes to work on bids for some of these projects in the next couple of months. In tonight's Home Team Crime Watch, an update on a controversial case centered right here in the state. Lawyers for a young Alabama man sentenced to life in prison will argue his punishment was too severe before the Supreme Court. Now, Evan Miller was 14 years old when he beat a Lawrence County man, 52-year-old Cole Cannon, to death with a baseball bat and then set his home on fire. In 2006, Miller was convicted and sentenced to prison for life without parole. His attorneys say the sentence didn't take into account his age or troubled youth status. Miller's accomplice, Colby Smith, pleaded guilty to murder in 2006 in exchange for life with parole. Governor Bentley's 10% budget cuts has department heads trying to figure out how to manage their offices. Some say they may be forced to cut or reduce needed services. Alabama's Department of Public Safety says they hope to avoid layoffs of state troopers. Other services may be cut or reduced, like inspections of gas pumps and medicine for AIDS patients. However, officials say the budget cuts do not affect education. An Alabama Senate committee has voted for legislation that would protect the prison system from new state budget cuts and make sure prisoners don't have to be released early. The Senate Finance Committee voted unanimously today to provide an extra $45.3 million to the Department of Corrections. The committee chairman said the additional funds will put the prison system back where it was before the governor had to cut spending. Governor Robert Bentley sought the money because cutting prisons by more than 10% would have resulted in the early release of inmates. The funding still must be approved by the Senate and House and signed by the governor. And if you are looking for a job with a view, you may want to head south to Alabama's coast. That's because record numbers of tourists are expected to hit the beaches this summer, which is good news for businesses. But economic leaders say even though there are about 7,000 unemployed people in Baldwin County, they can't fill all the job openings. The record tourism is still good news for the coast, especially after the 2010 Gulf of Mexico oil spill.